Hello students, welcome to Law Excellence YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about detailed analysis of the Hindu newspaper. The date is 19th June 2020. Before we moving on to the discussion, some small announcement to you students. There are certain upcoming courses are going to be available in our Law Excellence. So you can see from prelims test to ethics module to certain optional subjects like anthropology, pub, mathematics and geography. So these are the available courses. So in our Law Excellence Education Institute. So interested ones you can pop in and you can get the further details about these courses. Anyhow, so today the person of the day we are going to discuss about is Durga Shakti Nagpal. So students, Durga Shakti Nagpal, she was very popular, like when she was working as a district collector in Uttar Pradesh, Gautam Buddha Nagar. Why she was so popular? Because she took strict action against the sand mafia and illegal construction while she was working there. Students, she was popular in such a manner that even there are proposals on making a biopic on her life. So she showcases a kind of courage and a grit that inspires everyone to choose the right path, which is of idealism and righteousness. So these are the people who are going to be inspired for the upcoming generations. Now, in today's news analysis, in the editorial, we are going to discuss about these three topics in detail, and remaining targeted news analysis, we are going to discuss about further these three topics, students. So, the first one we are going to discuss about is at the high table. This is regarding related to your GS paper 2, that is international relations. So this is about India's getting membership in the UN Security Council. Of course it is a non-permanent membership, so of course we are trying for the permanent membership as well. That is a different story. So what are the learning objectives from this article? That means after you listen this article, what you have to understand, what are the objectives India want at UN Security Council, and what are the challenges before India in UN Security Council. These are the understandable objectives. You should get it after watching this. Students, the unique feature about any country who is a permanent member in UN Security Council is they can use the option of veto. Veto means the ability to reject some proposal. Students, if we bring out the statistics from 1946 to 2007, the country which used the veto option most of the time is USSR, Russian Federation. Of course, it followed by USA as well. Students, China, they used veto option with relevant to India when India tried to recognize Masood Azhar as international terrorist. At that point of time, China used their veto power to obstruct India's efforts. Sometimes in this way the power will be misused as well. Now we are going to discuss about our lesson plan. In our lesson plan, first we will discuss about UN Security Council background and its mandate. That means its objective. Then which countries are aspiring for permanent membership. Of course, the students, there are 4 countries which are aspiring for permanent membership in UN Security Council. Even they formed as G4. Then we will discuss about what are India's objectives in UN Security Council and what are the challenges before India in achieving these objectives. Finally, we will draw conclusion at the end of this article. Now, students, first let us discuss about UN Security Council background and its mandate. Students, UN Security Council is one of the 5 principal organs of United Nations organization. Of course, the trusteeship council, it is not active now. So there are only 5 active principal organs of the UNO. So whatever the resolution taken by UN Security Council, it is binding on all the UNO members. It is very, very important, students. UNO members, UN Security Council members can be categorized into 2 ways: permanent members as well as temporary members. Permanent members, which include 5 countries such as US, UK, France, Russia and China, whereas non-permanent members include 10 nations. They keep on rotating for every 2 years. Okay, out of these 10 members quota, African countries, they were given three countries, and from Latin America and Caribbean area, so they were given with 2 countries, and Asia Pacific region, 2 countries can be nominated in the non-permanent category, and from Western Europe, 2 countries, and from Eastern Europe, 1 country can be nominated in a non-permanent category. So always remember, so 10 countries are non-permanent and 5 countries are permanent. Here, one more thing you have to understand, students. Once a country is retired from non-permanent country, again it cannot be nominated. That means immediately it cannot file for the nomination. It has to wait for a certain buffer time. Students, whichever the country elected as a non-permanent member, it will serve for 2 years, like I said before. This election process will be done according to secret ballot method. I think in polity you know about secret ballot as well as open ballot methods. Along with India, countries such as Mexico from Central America, North America, Norway from Western Europe, and Ireland from Western Europe as well, they nominated as a non-permanent members. So countries which are aspiring for permanent membership apart from those 5 countries are India, Brazil, Japan, and Germany. These countries formed as a group of 4 countries. So then, what is the main function of the UN Security Council? To make sure the international peace and security. It is the main purpose of the UN Security Council, and it will recommend the members to impose any sanctions if they violate any international laws, as well as it can recommend the military action against the members as well if they violate the mandates given by or awards given by judicial organs such as International Court of Justice and UN Security Council. They direct the peacekeeping missions as well. Now, you know that. So, what are the main objectives of this UN Security Council? Now, in this context, India got the membership in non-permanent category. What are the objectives before India? Students, India is always proposing certain kind of reforms in UN Security Council. Of course, one of the reform is expanding the UN Security Council. Our external minister, he said that a new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. In last class, we discussed that in this COVID-19 crisis time, most of the multilateral organizations, they failed to act and they failed to predict this kind of crisis. And there was clear lack of coordination between the nations. So in this point of time, India is aiming for new orientation for a reformation in this multilateral system. And one more thing, India would like to lead a comprehensive convention on international terrorism, especially by keeping view on Pakistan. Because that, students, we are one of the country which face a lot of problems due to our neighborhood terrorism. As I said earlier, even India is looking forward to expand the strength of the Security Council, and it formed G4 for that purpose as well. So in achieving these objectives, what are the challenges before India? So the challenges, students, most of the reforms put forwarded by India, they were resisted by the permanent members of the UN Security Council. That means they were resist to change. And one more thing, now UN Security Council polarized into China supporting countries, USA supporting countries. More or less in UN Security Council, Russia more or less always supports the China stand, whereas USA will get the support of France and UK. So in this polarized world, in this polarized grouping, so India must be careful when it is taking sides. In the same way, COVID-19 pandemic, it's shaken up the global order, like multilateralism, it's shaken up the multilateralism, and both USA and China, they started bickering at each other. They started, complaining at each other. This opened up a fresh debate on strengthening the multilateralism and multilateral institution, like where is the problem and all these things. So in this situation, by facing the challenges before us, we have to utilize them as an opportunity and we have to move forward. Then finally, so what kind of conclusion we can draw is India should adopt a value-based position, and India should aspire for the leadership of non-permanent member countries. Like out of all the 10 countries, for those nations, India should act as a leader, and India should successfully able to deliver the voice of the weaker nation. Of course, to deliver that voice of the weaker nation, recently even we given much priority to non-alignment movement as well. Even we participated, and we proposed, so this the you know like we proposed the aspirations of the global south also. Next article is mediation in the age of COVID-19. In this, we are going to discuss about what is the meaning of mediation and what is the meaning of alternative dispute resolution (ADR), and what are the advantages of online mediation and what are the challenges facing by the online mediation. First, mediation means solving a problem by by keeping both parties informal way. It is not approaching to courts. Okay, so out of the court settlement, you might have seen about this lok adalats. Generally this type of arrangement is known as mediation. Now we'll discuss what is this alternative mediation mechanism. Students, basically there are five types of alternative dispute resolution. Out of this, negotiation, mediation, collaborative law, and arbitration, conciliation. We will discuss about it. Except collaborative law. In collaborative law, both the parties will be represented with their lawyers and they will sit informally. So we are not going into that. Apart from that, remaining four we are going to discuss about under the alternative dispute resolution mechanism and how it is performing in India. We will discuss. Students, alternative dispute resolution mechanism. So it is a type of dispute resolution that is working together cooperatively rather than arguing in court and so raising tempers. Now, alternative dispute resolution mechanism, it consists of following five types. First one, arbitration. In this arbitration situation, we will go to one tribunal or a court kind of thing. There the dispute will be solved and whatever the judgment given by that arbitration tribunal, it is mostly binding. Second one is conciliation. Conciliation generally will be done by the third party, conciliator. That third party is known as conciliator. That conciliator will assist both parties to reach the satisfactory settlement. This is the conciliation. The word itself is saying the meaning conciliation. Next, mediation. In this mediation, generally rather than institution, here a person will be involved. He will settle the both parties towards the mutually acceptable resolution. That is a mediation. Finally, negotiation. This is very important, students. Here no third party will be involved. Only both the parties which are contesting on particular dispute, both the parties will sit and they negotiate and they'll try to resolve their problem. So these are the four types of the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms which are there. Now, how this ADR in India, how this ADR performing in India? Students, the Legal Services Authority Act, which was passed in 1987, it will encourage out of the court settlements. And after that 1987, we brought the new Arbitration and Conciliation Act in 1996. And even the Lok Adalats as well, people courts, they encourage the negotiation as well in the presence of judicial officer. This is how the mediation is evolving in India over the period of time. Now, here we are going to discuss about what are the advantage of online mediation. First thing you have to understand, students, in online mediation, both the parties, they will participate in the mediation through online. That means through video calling and all these things. Very simple. So first thing is we can sit the parties, we can make sure the parties are sit at their home. That means they can be easily manageable and convenient as well. If they have to travel physically every time the case is adjourned, so it's cost effective, it's a very costly, expensive process. So rather than that, this online mediation is cost effective as well as convenient. And because the two parties are not at face to face, there are less chances of expressing emotions and getting anger, because this virtuality act as a barrier to express the emotions. Then what are the challenges involved in online mediation? Students, sometimes in the communication, the most of that information will be carried through body language only. That body language part will be missed out in this online mediation. And this mediation process can be recorded. So confidentiality will be affected, because in the entire process of mediation, confidentiality is very, very important core aspect. So there may be so compromise with respect to confidentiality in the online mediation. And there might be some technical glitch as well, like internet service connection, as well as quality of the video and all these things. And one more challenge is this online mediation might not be available to the underprivileged people. In India, very less families have the internet connection, that to proper internet connection. In this kind of circumstances, we cannot expect the applicability of online mediation to all the families. So by overcoming these challenges, we can go forward towards the online mediation. Next article. Can India decouple itself from Chinese manufacturing? This is related to GS paper 2, international relations. So in this, the learning objectives are going to be why we have to reduce dependency on China, and to achieve that, what are the various challenges in front of India. So as usually, before we start the discussion, our lesson plan is going to be why India has to reduce our dependence on China, what are the challenges before India, what we mean make in India, and the conclusion part will be discussed, students. First, we have to understand why we have to reduce our dependence on China. Simple thing, students. If we do a trade with China, the trade value is $81 billion. Out of the $81 billion, we are importing from China 65 and we are exporting to China only $16 billion. That means we are having the trade deficit with China. That means we are importing lot than with China from China rather than we export to China. And one more thing, most of the times whatever the medical supplies we are importing, we dependent on only China. We did not diversify it. That means diversification means importing from different countries. When one country supply chain is affected, we can easily, seamlessly, we can get the goods from another country. Rather than doing that, we excessively dependent on China. And one more thing, even we dependent on China with respect to capital goods also, because capital goods must be able to produce within India only. That will reduce the cost of production. Okay, capital goods should be encouraged within India itself. And one more thing, now we are not in a position that imports from China is not really a matter of choice, but which become essential. Even in this the context of COVID-19, we imported like medical mask and humidifiers from China. That means China is no more a choice for us, it became very essential to India. India launched Make in India campaign about 5 years ago, but still we are not much successful with respect to Make in India. Still, there are lot of challenges to face. So, how we can stop depending on India in that pursuit? What are the challenges before India? First thing is, students, why China is becoming so favorite for most of the countries? Because it is very good at like assembling the different products. China is a global assembler, as well as China is a major consumer of the final product. Because of these factors, most of the companies, they were they would not like to change their physical location out of China immediately, at least. And one more thing, even though they are relocating from China, like recently around 50 companies they decided to relocate from China. Out of 50 companies, only 3 companies they favored to India. Remaining countries, they shifted their investment to Vietnam and some other countries. Why we are unable to attract? There are certain things, like still in India we are unable to give quality and 24/7 electricity all the time, and we need to implement certain labor reforms as well and land reforms as well. Still there is certain kind of red tapeism, corruption is there. So we have to improve our ease of doing business. Of course we are improving over the period of time, but still long way to go. And one more thing, skilled population is also required. Lack of skill is like one of the negative setup. Okay, then one more thing is, whatever the FDI is coming into India, most of the FDIs, they are in the brownfield investment. What is the meaning of brownfield investment? Already whatever the FDI is coming up, they are acquiring the already existing Indian company rather than a foreign company setting up a new company in India. For example, IKEA came to Hyderabad, they set up a new shop, new outlet. By that way it can create a lot of employment. That is a greenfield investment. We required greenfield investment. But one more thing, students, there is a problem of land acquisition in India as well. So we have to make sure the land acquisition is very easy. Like I said, labor reforms. And even India started its objective like relocation of supply chain with like-minded partners like Japan, Korea, Vietnam. With this country, we are grouping up regarding the global value chain. But still, all these countries are a part of RCEP, where India is not part. So whatever the product coming from those countries still applies same rules of origin along with the China as well. So here you have to understand that we have to diversify our imports. We have to diversify our imports and we have to intensify our Act East policy apart from only few countries. Okay. And so before import substitution, before we thinking about import substitution, we have to ramp up our Make in India program. So even we announced Assemble India as well. By encouraging Assemble in India, we are expecting around 4 crores of job by 2025 as well as 8 crores of job by 2030. Assembling means so keeping different parts together, that is known as assembling. And recently Government of India, they set up one empowered group of secretaries, EGO, empowered group of secretaries regarding the like electronics, I mean how to attract the investments. Empowered group of secretaries, they will go through the what are the challenges facing by the investors in India, and they will make sure the investment process will be so seamless, and if there are any problems they will be addressed in timely manner from different departments. In this way they facilitate the investors for investment into India. It will make all the policies synergizes in investment and related incentive policies. So here let us look at Make in India very briefly. Students, Make in India was launched in 2014 by Government of India. The main aim of the Make in India is to increase the manufacturing sector percentage from 16% to 25% by 2022. So by that way we can create lot of employment. So the final conclusion is, students, although there is a very crucial need to reduce imports from China, still India is facing challenges to boost our indigenous manufacturing sector. So first we have to be a part of global value chain. We have to encourage our indigenous manufacturing, then slowly we can reduce our dependence on China. Next article, US bill to sanction China over Uyghur rights. So Uyghur, first we have to understand who is this Uyghur communities, okay, and why US want to impose sanctions on China over the Uyghur rights. First, geographical knowledge is important, students. Uyghurs, they were present in the northwest region of China in the province of Xinjiang. This Xinjiang province is so adjoining the Ladakh Union Territory, and POK as well. It is adjoining it. So there, this Uyghur community will live. Now, US they signed a legislation that China is doing human rights violation on Uyghurs, and if China will not stop human rights violations on this Uyghur community, then US will impose sanctions. Of course, China given a fitting reply. What China told that so US should not interfere in its internal matters. Of course, we can't expect a different answer from China. Then what are the problems for this Uyghur community? Students, first let us talk about this Xinjiang province. This Xinjiang province is a northwestern province of China, students, and it is an autonomous region, one of the biggest provinces. And the uniqueness of this province is it is rich in minerals, and it is bordered by countries like Mongolia and Kazakhstan and Afghanistan and these countries. Uyghur communities are mostly Muslims, and there are around 11 million people. They themselves culturally and ethnically they different from the mainland Chinese people. So then what is their problem? So what is their problem is Chinese from mainland, so that they are known as Han community from China. They are invading this Xinjiang province, and they are taking away all the employment opportunities, and they are disturbing the unique culture of these Uyghurs. So that is the reason they are asking for more rights and more autonomy for their region. So to So what the China government is responding to this? So Chinese government, they are like suppressing their voice by arresting them, and they are like they are sending into detention camps where they were brainwashed into giving up their identity as well as changing of their religion, and they will be discharging into the mainland China, which is dominated by the Han community. This crackdown as well as human rights violation are often condemned by different countries of the world. Okay. Now the Xinjiang province and India we will see. It has very significance in India context. Why? Because whatever this CPEC China Pakistan economic corridor, it connects the Xinjiang province with Arabian Sea, which is going through the POK. Okay, and recently Daimar Basha project in POK, like Gilgit Baltistan, it is committed by China and Pakistan, which is near to this Xinjiang province. So Xinjiang province is very important in terms of CPEC and which is adjoining to India. Next, we are going to discuss about economy related news, students. Indian economy to contract, that means reduced by how much percentage? 4 percentage, that is minus 4 percentage in 2020-21. Who is forecasting this? ADB. ADB stands for Asian Development Bank. Now, in this article, first we will check what is the different phase of the economy cycle. Students, economy generally, when it is very highest where the GDP is very good, that is known as peak. When it is going down, it is known as contraction. So this is a common in a particular economic cycle. This cyclical changes. Now we are discussing about contraction. Indian economy will face contraction. This contraction can be different types. For example, V shape. That means economy recovers very fastly. Economy recovers very fastly, like V shape. W shape. W shape means economy will slump down, it will recover, and again it will slump down, and again it will recover, like W shape. U shape, that is GDP. Economy will gradually slow down and it will gradually recover. That is the U shape. And most disaster one is L shape, where economy will go down very fast and it will take years to recover. That is the L shape. So these are some of the basics regarding the economic contraction and economic recovery. Now, what ADB is saying, students, Asian Development Bank, they are predicting that Indian economy is going to be contracted by how much percentage? 4 percentage. It also said that countries in the developing Asia, their growth is very minimal in 2020. China is expected to perform better out of all this country with a growth of 1.8 percentage in 2020. And India is going to be minus 4 percentage. Of course, India will rebound its growth in 2021 with 5 percentage. For countries in developing Asia, this ADB forecast growth of 0.1 percentage in 2020. That means all the developing countries, their growth is going to be 0.1 percentage. It would be the slowest growth since 1961. So, about some basic information related to ADB. ADB stands for Asian Development Bank, established in the year 1966. It is based in Manila, Philippines. It has 67 countries as a membership, and this bank modeled on the lines of World Bank. And Japan is having the largest share in the ADB with 15 percentage, followed by USA and China and India. The main aim of the ADB is social development, through that reduction of the poverty and achieving the regional integration as well as sustainable growth. Next article we are going to discuss is related to megalithic burials. So there is one particular site where this megalithic burials were found. That site name is Kodumanal. Kodumanal. This is related to Tamil Nadu, students. So before understanding this news, first you have to understand how these megalithic burials look. What is the meaning of cairn circles? So these are the megalithic burials look like. That means group of stones in a circular pattern. So sometimes they have this top as well. So this top is known as the top rock is known as schist, CIST, schist. So this is some of the wording related to these megalithic burials. So recently there are around 250 cairn circles. That means 250 these kind of circles were found. In which state, students? In prelims point of view, it is very important. Erode district, Tamil Nadu. How it is different? It is different that So here at these excavations, around 10 pots and bowls were found. In previous excavations, around only 4 pots were found. This grave could be a village headman because the stones they kept are larger compared to other. And by looking at the pots and pots filled with rice grains, we can say that they believed in the afterlife. That means a life after death. Here we have to remember about this megalithic culture. Students, the construction of this type of structure that took place mainly in the Neolithic. You might have known that, students, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, different ages. In Stone Age, in Neolithic, this kind of culture been found. Especially, it continued till the Chalcolithic age, which consists of Iron Age as well as Bronze Age. The first attempt to keep all the South Indian megalithic sites in a chronological way. The work was done by Mortimer Wheeler. He excavated the sites of Brahmagiri and Chandravalli in Karnataka in 1944. So his work is so significant. So some additional information regarding these megalithic burials. So these megalithic burials shows that community is dominated by religious and supernatural beliefs. Already we know that they believed in afterlife. So, and in the Vidarbha region, even they buried horses as well with the dead man, possibly after sacrifice. This may have been a local tradition. So, this kind of observation we can make out from these megalithic burials. So, now, two MCQ questions to you. First one, consider the following statement regarding the UN Security Council. First option, to get elected to UN Security Council non-permanent seat, a country must get all votes of 5 permanent members as they have veto power. Listen carefully. Second, non-permanent members would have tenure of 3 years. Check which one is right. Second question, there is no court fee in Lok Adalat. Second, this is regarding the alternative dispute resolution. They are non-statutory bodies set up by state governments whenever the need arises. The decision of the Lok Adalats are final and can only be appealable in Supreme Court of India. So try to choose the right answer, students. Now, in this entire newspaper analysis, we discussed about three newspaper articles related to editorial and 3 additional newspaper we discussed as a part of targeted news analysis. So if you like this initiative and if you feel this content is useful to your preparation, like this video. And if you feel this video help to your friends, share this video to your friends. And so if you are not a subscriber, please click on subscriber and click on the bell button so you will get all the notifications, students. Thanks for watching this video. See you in next video.